Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Desatadine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before we begin the next verse of the Putana Lila, we probably shouldn't call it Putana Lila, it's Putana Harana Lila. There were two topics that came up yesterday that required a little research, and with the kindness of one of the devotees, some further research produced some nice understandings. I would just like to share that first thing from yesterday. Remember the discussion about Jiva Goswami saying that Putana had a form like an owl. And since I couldn't really understand what that was about, he gives both the literal or what would be the customary translation. Uluki indicates a gigantic form, but there's another meaning of Uluki, and there you see. Hari Vangsha and Vishnu Purana indicate Uluki is the name of the primeval owl. Now, I don't know what a primeval owl is, like, the prototype of all owls or something. Here's the verse, the reference in the Putana chapter, Canto 10, Chapter 6. Jiva Goswami says, it was previously stated that the form of Putana was an owl. And that previously stated was Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 27. And he gives the Sanskrit, Tokena Jiva Haranam Yad Uluki Kayas. Uluki Kayas. As a child, he killed Putana, who had an owl's body. So she's a primeval owl, somehow, according to one literal meaning of Uluki. The BBT translation, word for word, so this is Srila Prabhupada from Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 27. Is Uluki Kaya, she assumed the giant body of a demon. So there's two meanings for Uluki, and take your pick. Jiva Goswami mentions both. And some additional research, I don't know what this reference is, Vairagya Martanda, where Uluki is also mentioned. And the explanation is given that any woman with dirty intelligence who, unknown to her husband, enjoys a paramour, she becomes an owl in her next life and lives in the hole of a tree. So there may be other ways to get to that place of being an owl in the hole of a tree. But at least according to this statement of the Vedas, I assume it's some portion of the Vedas, or Vedic in relation to the Vedas. You better watch out. You might become an owl in a tree if you act improperly in this way. So another reference was Pancharatra Pradeep speaks about nyasa. It was in yesterday's discussion, and it's going to come up again today. So it's appropriate to become clear what nyasa is. This is Pancharatra Pradeep, is our ISKCON literature describing deity worship, details of deity worship. So their description of nyasa goes like this. I'll just read it. Nyasa refers to placing sounds on parts of mantras on various parts of the body. There are two types of nyasa. One employs particles of sound, such as the alphabetical sounds, ma, trika, or the syllables found in the Gayatri mantras. And the other employs names of the Lord, his consorts, energies, and associates. The purpose of nyasa is to purify and spiritualize the body. Whereas Bhuta Shuddhi in Vedic Bhakti simply produces a condition of bodily purity, nyasa, through placing sound on the body, produces a condition of spirituality, making the body qualitatively like that of the Lord. Srila Rupa Goswami mentions that nyasas are a characteristic element of archana, deity worship, in the mode of Vaidhi Bhakti. There's another page I'll go on in just a moment, but this employing a particle of sound and placing that particle of sound on the body, the Narayana Kavacha mantra, which was given to Indra for protection. I know a devotee that, reading this from the Bhagavatam, he does this every day. He touches various parts of the body and says the mantras that are the Narayana Kavacha. Kavacha means shield. It's to protect the body from this and that and the other thing, from danger. It's a mantra process of protection as opposed to a yantra process of protection. Rather than wearing armor, one wears mantra. And the understanding that we are being given is the gopis, the elder gopis, they weren't brahmanas, they were vaishyas, but they knew this process, mantra process, and they were using the mantra process to protect Krishna after the Putana devastation. Here's continuing from Pancharatra Pradeep. Regarding worship, two types of nyasa are given: kara nyasa for the hands and anga nyasa for the body, both of which the pujari may perform after worshipping his spiritual master and Lord Chaitanya and prior to worshipping Krishna. So that's the chronology of where the nyasa of these two types go. Nyasa is generally performed on the deity only during installation. When the deity installation of the Panchatattva was performed, this was the procedure that was followed. There were devotees. I was involved in this. There were kusagrass bunches, and parts of the body of the deity were touched by the kusagrass, while the reciter of the nyasa mantras said what they said, and it was for the not protection of the deity, but the installation of the deity through the nyasa mantra by touching parts of the body while reciting mantra. When installing the Lord in a ghata, so we do this in our rituals. Prabhupada had called it Shripat to make it simple for us, but ghata, that's so when you install the pot, or in a Vishesha Argya, a special Argya where the deity is installed, the devotee may perform nyasa much as he would do on himself. It is particularly recommended that the pujari perform nyasa on himself if he is going to do any kind of installing, either of sacred pots, Vishesha Argya, or deities. So that just is a little technical explanation of what nyasa is. And it was in yesterday's text. It's going to be again in today's text, you'll hear. So let's move on to texts 1920 from chapter 6. Thereafter, Mother Yashoda and Rohini, along with the elderly gopis, waved about the switch of a cow to give full protection to the child Sri Krishna. The switch of a cow is the hair at the end of the cow's tail. That's a switch of a cow. Like yak tail, which we use during our deity worship, is the tail, that bushy part of a yak animal. And so this is a switch of a cow. There's probably some Sanskrit word, but this is Prabhupada's translation. And then the child was thoroughly washed with cow urine and then smeared with the dust raised by the movements of the cows. Then different names of the Lord were applied with cow dung on 12 different parts of his body, beginning with the forehead, as is done in applying tilak. In this way, the child was given protection. So they were doing, without calling in the brahmanas, they were doing the rituals that they were quite familiar with to give protection to Krishna. That's their first thought. In Srila Prabhupada's purport, he writes, there are so many facilities afforded by cow protection, but people have forgotten these arts. The importance of protecting cows is therefore stressed by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Krishi Gorakshavanijam, Vaishakarma Swabhavajam. And from the hills and the slopes in the background, this looks like New Vrindavan. And there's Kirtananda next to Prabhupada, so it's probably New Vrindavan. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, this verse mentions that Yashoda, Rohini, and the other gopis performed rituals of protection. Yashoda and Rohini did not take a leading role, however, because they were extremely affected by anxiety for Krishna's safety. The elderly gopis waved a cow's tail around Krishna's limbs, sarvataha, to protect him. They also offered other items such as mustard seeds and touching Krishna with the edge of a winnowing basket. I happen to know what a winnowing basket is, because that's the name of Shuparnaka. Her name means a winnowing basket. So what is a winnowing basket? A winnowing basket is something that is meant for separating the chaff from the grain. They put it in the winnowing basket and move around, and it separates. The grain falls through, and the chaff stays in the winnowing basket. And her name was, according to the explanation that I came across, she was the Acharya's comment in this way, because she had long nails, like a winnowing basket. So that was her name. I mean, she was born with that name, Shurpanaka. So they touched Krishna's body with these items. Jiva Goswami writes, this verse and later verses show how they had the ability to protect him out of affection. Fearing for the health of the child, Yashoda and Rohini could not do anything at first. The others had the two women with them in order to pacify their grief. They performed actions to protect the child everywhere, sarvataha or sarvashaha, inside and outside for auspiciousness. They did this in the best way, samyak. Now, the next slide requires me to read something that I left upstairs. So if you can get that something. She knows, because she printed it. The next reference, again, just on this very same topic, comes from Gopal Champu. So you see our two friends, Snigdha Kanta and Madhu Kanta, and whenever you see this image that shows an open ancient book that's a little discolored and so forth, that means I'm supposed to read something, in case I fall asleep or something. So this is from Gopal Champu. As you see the text on the screen, Snigdhakanta says, how did Yashoda and others maintain their self-control? How did their associates resolve the issue? So it goes on. Madhukanta said, making a deafening clamor, the elders and middle-aged women ran here and there, leaving Yashoda and Rohini. By some by good fortune saw Putana, huge like a mountain, fall from the sky. Without fear they approached, and climbing on her arms, which had fallen to the ground by chance, took Krishna, who was playing fearlessly, on her chest. Out of excitement, they ran quickly to the house without looking back. The women came to the great inner chambers, with many following behind. They had seen the event, and with joy and unsteadiness came there, leaping and jumping. They saw Yashoda and Rohini unconscious, and became completely bewildered about what to do. After a few moments, when all methods failed to revive them, one old intelligent woman placed the child on their laps. When this happened, their life airs returned by the nectar of the child's presence. Seeing the child, they again fainted in bliss. They then returned to consciousness, but wept as if moistening the dry summer earth. When they saw the child, tears fell from their eyes like iron needles, giving them the same pain they had experienced before. The tender child was brought so that he could drink their milk. Thus the two women gradually became steady. They embraced the child, looked at him, kissed him, and smelled his head. They placed him on the ground and performed aratik. Putana truly existed. And this child, your son, he still exists. They clearly established this. The two mothers, without fear, began to see Krishna as the subduer of Putana. Then Yashoda said in astonishment, "Go and see Balaram." Saying this, understanding that she wanted to run to him, Rohini prevented her, and with many women went to another room, and seeing the child with auspicious marks, performed rites to protect him. She then brought the child to Yashoda, who desired to see him, and satisfied her. The mothers then bathed Krishna in cow urine and protected him with mantras, hearing which the learned sages became surprised. Seeing this great danger, Yashoda spoke to the older women in a choked voice. "We had no great desire for children, but by your desire, this child has appeared. You have given this child to us, and we offer him to you." She touched the child to their feet and shed tears. The old women, losing control, quickly took the child and said, "Oh, Yashoda, may whatever pious acts we have accrued from our paternal and maternal lines give auspiciousness and happiness to this child." With tears, they worshipped the child by Aratik. All remained blissful to give comfort to Yashoda. The two mothers and others then began describing the horrible acts of Putana from what they had seen. The two described how Putana came, what she said, and what she did. While doing so, their voices wavered and the syllables and their words became unclear. Other women then described in choked voice how they came on the scene and saw what they saw. So now we're at the next verse, and there's the little tuft of hair, or whatever it's called, whisk, the end of the cow's tail being waved over Krishna. Somehow that's creating auspiciousness. The gopis first executed the process of Achmana, drinking a sip of water from the right hand. They purified their bodies and hands with the nyasa mantra, and then applied the same mantra upon the body of the child. And after what we just read, we can understand this is deity worship. Krishna is their deity, right? You know, some people have a deity of Bal Gopal in their home, and the resident of Vrindavan, they have the deity of Bal Gopal in their house. And they're doing deity worship. Except we don't use all the ingredients that they use, including the tuft of hair at the end of a cow's tail. Here's another very old painting where the cows are there, and the items used by the cows are there. Here's another very old style painting. We see in the left side, there's Putana, and Krishna's on the chest of Putana. The gopis are removing him. And in the upper center, it seems like that's the same picture that we saw previously. Yeah, same picture. Here's the larger picture. And so many other parts to the events. It's connected with the Putana Lila. Here's a very detailed and sharp painting where water is being poured on the hand of Yashoda as she's holding Krishna in her feet. Interesting. And there's this basin beneath that's gathering the water, that's sprinkling on Krishna's head, and presumably she's also chanting mantras while she's engaged in this sanctifying and purifying and protecting Krishna's body. Now, this is a reference from the very recent Bindu publication. This is published by, help me with the name, please. Madhavananda, correct. Krishna Katamrita is a regular publication he's been doing for years. And here's some Putana Vadha, and that's another term for killing Putana. Putana Vadha, that's the pastime. And this is protecting Krishna, that particular passage that we're reading from in chapter 6. Thereafter, Mother Yashoda and Rohini, along with the other elderly gopis, waved a cow's tail about to give full protection to the child, Sri Krishna. The child was thoroughly washed in cow urine and smeared with the dust raised by the movements of the cows. Then different names of the Lord were applied with cow dung on the 12 different parts of his body, beginning with the forehead, as done in applying tilak. In this way, the child was given protection. According to the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, this mantra was originally given by Brahma, who gave it to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva gave it to Durvasa Muni, and Durvasa Muni gave it to Yashoda in Nanda Maharaj's palace. Interesting. Madhavananda has all these interesting things. The gopis hastily, this is the same taken from that Krishna Karnamrita book or publication. The gopis hastily started the rituals of protection without first doing Achmana because of great fear. After calming down, they did the rituals properly by first performing Achmana, some sprishta, shalila. They then performed the anga nyasa and kara nyasa on their own bodies and hands. Then they invoked the bija mantras on Krishna's limbs. The bija consists of the first syllable of the name with an anuswara. Example, namaha. May Aja protect your feet. Namaha. May Maniman protect your knees. Yashoda, this is Jiva Goswami. Yashoda and Rohini are not included here as before. This is indicated by the words pratak, or separately. The bija, nyasa, is performed by the first syllable of the name of the Lord with an anuswara, followed by namaha, for instance, yam yagyaya namaha. The names from Aja to Ishvara were used to touch 11 parts of Krishna's body. Then we've heard a few times, and we all within ISKCON, we know what Achman is. And here's a very interesting commentary, or Hari Parshad calls this his realizations, a commentary on this little verse. There's the Sanskrit of Hari Suri's, it's Hari Suri's guru. That is, Krishna is indeed all-destroying kala, or time. Like a brahmana about to commence the consumption of the feast of thousands of demons, that's in his pastimes on earth, he's killing demons, he first performed Achmana 6 times by sipping Putana's milk along with her 5 bodily heirs. So the detail is when brahmanas, ritualistic brahmanas, take a meal, a big feast, before they do, they say Achmana, but they not only say Achmana once, they do 6 times. So ritualistic brahmanas do like that. And Krishna, prior to the ritualistic brahmanas doing like that, he did it 6 times too, or 6 times also. So that's her life heir, that's 5 life heirs, and the milk that makes 6. So Krishna did his Achmana. That's his realization. And this person, Sri Dundiraja, that's Harisuri's guru. We don't know. In ISKCON, he's not well known. We mentioned this before. Just say a little bit more. His disciplic line is from Tukaram, and we read in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Tukaram received Diksha, Nama Diksha, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he passed through that area. And the area is in Nasik. It mentions specifically the temple that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited when he was in that area. And it's that same temple that Harisuri's disciple, one disciple, established a temple. So his translations or commentaries are relishable. They're very interesting. Now we're going to do some more reading. See that book that tells me I'm supposed to read something. And the reason for doing this is, look at that candle is flickering. Pretty cool. Okay. In Kramasandarbha, Jiva Goswami writes about this verse, and we're going to end with this slide, by the way. The gopis first performed Achmana. They purified their bodies and hands with the nyasa mantra and then applied the same mantra to the body of the child. The bijas were the first syllables of a name like Aja with an Anushwara. And in his Priti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami writes, in the Prashraya rasa, the vibhavas and other conditions are as previously described. In this rasa, there is great devotion to the Lord. Can you look up what Prashraya rasa means? Now will be considered Vatsalya rasa, the rasa of parental love. In that rasa, the alambana, or the stimulation of ecstasy, is Lord Krishna, who is the object of his parents' affection. The Vishaya is Lord Krishna. The adara, or lovers, are Krishna's parents and other superiors. In this rasa, Lord Krishna manifests only his human-like form. In this rasa, Lord Krishna's superiors are Sri Vasudeva, Devaki, Kunti, and others. Their devotion for the Lord is mixed. Mishra Bhakti. Interesting, huh? Also included in this rasa are Sri Nanda, Nanda, and their contemporary gopas and gopis, and others also. Their devotion for Krishna is pure, or shuddha. Now, we usually use Mishra Bhakti and Shuddha Bhakti in a different way than it's here. Our Mishra Bhakti is mixed with material other than just for the pleasure of the Lord. Here its mixture is with Aishvarya Bhav and Madhurya Bhav mixture. The devotees in Vatsalya rasa are expert in performing their parental duties in relation to Lord Krishna. This expertise is seen in the following words of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our verse, is text 21, where they did their nyasa activities. The gopis first executed the process of Achmana, drinking a sip of water from the right hand. They purified their bodies and hands with the nyasa mantra and then applied the same mantra upon the body of the child. Going forward to the Damodar Lila chapter, the meaning of this verse is clear. Included among the udipanas are Lord Krishna's qualities. The first of these is his quality of being an adorable child, lalya bhava. This quality is seen in the following words of the Bhagavatam, chapter 9, text 4. Translation: While Mother Yashoda was churning butter, Lord Krishna, desiring to drink the milk of her breast, appeared before her, and, in order to increase her transcendental pleasure, he caught hold of the churning rod and began to prevent her from churning. There's more, but it's going ahead a little bit. This verse, text 21, is referenced in a later verse in this same chapter 6. So I'm going to read the translation for 10.6.30 that makes, in the commentary, makes reference to this verse. This is what Mother Yashoda and the gopis did after this entire unfortunate event of Krishna being snatched away from Putana. I think I'm going to cover this in a different way. Okay. So, wow, not only the candle is flickering, there's this line across the table that's flickering. What's that? You just found it somewhere. Okay. Looks like Diwali or something. So some appreciation is that the elders, ladies and men, were very cultured. Although they weren't brahmanas, they knew the details of Vedic purification. Normally, speak for myself, I don't know all those mantras and all those procedures. And when it's time for them, I rely on the brahmanas, and I really don't understand what they're doing. What to speak of even what the words are. What nyasa is. I've just learned this because it's in the Bhagavatam. So the gopis may not have known the Bhagavatam, but they knew the procedures for purification. It's part of profound culture. And I imagine when our children attend Gurukula, at least for sure, Bhakti Vijayapurna Swami's Gurukul, they learn all these things. So whatever their varna is, because their system of education there is according to varna, they're encouraged to develop skills according to varna, but all the children learn these mantras and procedures, and they're really nicely trained up. And it's just part of Vedic culture. So it's nice appreciation to see that they know these things. It's kind of a curiosity item, but there is an explanation. We don't hear the cowherd boys getting this training. We don't hear about them going to school because, like in early stage, they're going off to take care of the calves and then take care of the cows, and they don't require the same education. However, some discussion with some of our scholarly devotees indicated a curiosity item. It's a Vedic culture item, but a curiosity item, that while Krishna was in Vrindavan, he didn't receive Upanayana. He didn't receive Upanayana till he went to Mathura and received Upanayana from Gargamuni. But there's some of the detail is that Krishna, his friends wanted to do whatever Krishna wanted to do. So Krishna didn't want them to come because they would have been disturbed to see what's, the mood of Mathura. So he sent a message that they should receive their Upanayana from Bhaguri Muni, who was the son of Gargamuni. So they underwent Upanayana while Krishna was doing Upanayana in Mathura. Because Krishna said, otherwise they would have gone to be with Krishna and participate in his Upanayana, get their Upanayana too. But it was careful to not mix moods. But they had teachers capable. Said after Upanayana, that's when the study period begins. So it doesn't give a description. So I don't know what happened after their Upanayana. We know what happened after Krishna's Upanayana. He went to school. And he selected the school, and it was quite a distance away school. And some of the details is, this is described by our acharyas. It's a little off the morning's topic, but it's nice. It's Krishna Katha. Krishna wanted to select his teacher. Of course, Vasudeva and Devaki, they were happy that he wanted to go to school, and he happy to have him select his teacher. So Sandipani Muni was not a Vaishnava. He was a Shaivite. By Krishna's association, he became a Vaishnava. But we visited the place where Sandi Muni had his ashram, and the Murti of Sandipani Muni shows him with Shaivite tilak. He was a Shaivite. He became a Krishna Bhakta by Krishna's association. But that was his background, because what Vaishnava of good standing and repute would become a teacher of the Supreme Lord? It would have been, a conflict for them. So he chose Sandipani Muni, and for other reasons also. Here's two other reasons. Because in the school of Sandipani Muni was also his dear friend, Sudama Brahman. Sudama Brahman and Krishna have an eternal relationship, so they were joined together. Is part of Krishna's pastime plan. And here's another. The whole family of Sandipani Muni is intimately connected to Krishna. Sandipani Muni's mother is Purnamasi. Sandipani Muni's son is Madhumangal. And Madhumangal and Purnamasi are very essential in Krishna's Braja Lila. And outside Braja Lila, Sandipani Muni is very essential. So he didn't go to school until it was Sandipani Muni time. And so he was very happy to not get his Upanayana until he got to Mathura. And then the cowherd boys got their Upanayana at the same time in Gokula. But we don't hear about what their education was after the Upanayana process. But presumably, and this is something that Burjan Prabhu shared with me, that they certainly were capable teachers, not only Bhagwari Muni, but other teachers like Bhagwari Muni or students of his, etc. So they're highly qualified and eligible teachers available. So exactly what education after their Upanayana they underwent is not described, but some kind of education, undoubtedly, because they're also twice born, the Vaishyas. But Krishna, not just because he was Vaishya, wasn't the time yet, because traditionally, those in the Brahmana families or Brahmana birth would receive their Upanayana at 12. And all of that description comes from when Krishna went to Mathura. Krishna killed Kamsa. Krishna was reunited with Vasudeva and Devaki. And then Krishna receives his Upanayana. And so there are some other rituals that were done. And then Krishna goes to school. It's in that section of the Bhagavatam that all of this explanation is provided. And like what we're doing here, the different acharyas are offering their insights, explanations, understandings, realizations about some of the details. Okay. Well, I'm admiring this image that you somehow found on the internet with the candle and the flickering line below the ancient book. Nice marble top table. I look forward to the next time I see this, prompting me to do some more reading. Let's see if there's some discussion. We're already at 8:22. Parental. Okay. Because in that the text, this is Priti Sandarbha, after describing that one, I'm always going to speak of Vatsalya. So how the two are same or different, it's perhaps a particular type of parental affection. Yes, sure, read what you have.
So this is Priti Sandarbha, Anuchet 218 and 219. Now the devotional mellow of prashraya rasa, filial love, will be considered.
Filial, not parental. Filial.
Filial is also like son, daughter, right?
My understanding of the word filial means friend. No, parental?
So
He's going to look it up. Go ahead.
In this rasa, the alambana and vishaya are loved Krishna, the doting parent. The adhara lovers are Lord Krishna's children and other like kinsmen who are the objects of his parental affections. As before, in this rasa also, Lord Krishna manifests two forms, the form of the Supreme Controller and a human-like form. The devotees who are thus the objects of Lord Krishna's parental affection are of three kinds. One, the devotees who have a relationship with the Lord in his feature as the Supreme Controller. 2, the devotees who have a relationship with the Lord in his human-like feature, and 3, the devotees who have a relationship with the Lord in both these 2 features.
Got it. That's good. That's good. That covers it. Is there something more?
There was another section which just describes further what are the udipans.
Okay, let's go. Filial means?
Of relating to or befitting a son or a daughter.
Okay. I'm getting an education in the English language as well as the Sanskrit language. Of or pertaining to a son or daughter. Okay.
Also in CC Antya 1260, this word prashraya is described as affection, humility, faith, a demand for some special concession, or indulgence in such a concession, or being overtaken.
Okay. So it's Saturday morning, and there probably are, because it's a holiday and it's not a work day, we probably have a number of people online. And those of you that are online, you'll be happy to know we're very nicely socially distanced. And there's very few of us. Somehow everyone's not wearing their masks, but otherwise we're doing all right.
We have a question from Radha.
There we go. First on the list.
Is there any explanation of any interactions with Krishna that made Sandipani Muni become a Vaishnava?
Well, just Krishna's association. He understood the special nature. When Krishna first arrived, he was a celebrated person already, but Sandipani Muni treated them, he was very clear, you'll be treated like everybody else. And so they were happy to have that kind of submissive relationship with him. At the same time, he came to know, Sandipani Muni came to know of their divinity. And it's when Sandipani Muni asked him, please retrieve my deceased son, Krishna was happy to do that. And so he was very, very, so he came to understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his association with him. Apparently his understanding or realization wasn't the same as his mother and son, but he came to that position through Krishna's association.
Sundari Lila Mataji from Naperville. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, after all these sessions, I got connected to Gopal Champu. I feel easy to understand because it's like a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Maharaj, in Gopal Champu, did Jiva Goswami write only Krishna Lila, or did he write the entire Srimad Bhagavatam?
Just Krishna Lila, just Braja Lila.
Maharaj, thanks for enlightening us with the pastime of Bhakta Tukaram, who got initiated from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I grew up listening to Bhakta Tukaram songs like Panduranga Vittal, Jai Panduranga Vittal. I feel blessed, Maharaj. Thank you very much for wonderful Putana Lila.
Well, you can go back and hear the recordings of our visit to Tukaram's place, and there's details. It's not, I didn't speak the katha, it was the group leaders spoke the katha. And if you can't find it, I don't know do you have access to those recordings? And there's printed literature also. So speak to Vangsi Dari and he'll help you find it if you can't find it. But look first because he's really busy while he's here.
Next question from Amrita Kelly. Guru Maharaj would like to seek further explanation for my better understanding of this topic of performing rituals. Kindly forgive me for the long question. This comes again and again in our scriptures, that one who takes complete shelter of Mukunda doesn't have to perform all these. We know that the gopis and Mother Yashoda are fully Krishna conscious, and so definitely not performing these rituals on material platform. For those of us who have not yet taken the shelter completely, how do we apply this with regards to some rituals or demigod worship that we have been used to before Krishna consciousness? And then two parts. For devotees who are just introduced to Krishna consciousness, and for devotees who have been practicing Krishna consciousness for a long time, but still performing some of these rituals.
The according to faith is my answer. I'll give an expanded version of according to faith. Krishna indicates in Bhagavad Gita, don't disturb people. At the same time, we disturb people by giving them the absolute truth, and the absolute truth is what you recited. But supposing someone doesn't have full faith in the absolute truth, then they may carry along with them the affinity due to their faith and long-standing practice of something and something and something. So a new person or someone who's already been practicing bhakti for some time is maybe in that category. Their faith is not yet matured, but when their faith is matured and they've heard adequately, deeply, everything is accomplished. One not only does not need to do those things, it may be, in fact, an offense, thinking, I need to supplement my bhakti with something else. A nice example of this specifically from the Bhagavatam is King Riga. King Riga was a devotee. He wanted to see Krishna, and he felt, you know what? If I do some rituals, that'll make me more pious and I'll be more qualified to see Krishna. So he did some piety for the purpose of strengthening his chances of seeing Krishna, that's the mixed position. And as a result, he got to see Krishna, but he became a lizard before he got to see Krishna because of Krishna's pastime. So what can we learn from that? We don't go tell the King Riga story to people that are in that position, say, you better watch out, Prabhu. But it's instructive to say, what the Bhagavatam says is true, and according to your capacity, according to your faith, according to your progress in the bhakti path, it's not required, and it may even, depending upon the kind of faith you have, it may have some undesirable consequence. That is, you'll be blocked in progress of the bhakti path if you don't hear Krishna's words. It's not only it's not required, but it's performed just due to some attachment to upadhi, some designation thing. So we want to let go of those designation things. But that's a matter of faith, and the potency of bhakti is there that it will come in time. So you or somebody that you're familiar with, depending upon you or that person, your relationship with that person, you can inform them and encourage them. This goes along with this, acceptance and progress topic. So you know that one, so I don't need to elaborate. You want to add something?
No, I'm just thinking that, so if it is done with detachment to provide a supporting platform, maybe some of these rituals which are purifying or bring auspiciousness, of course, Prabhupada
It's a question of faith.
Yeah.
It's a question of faith and intention.
Mm-hmm.
It's like practicing yoga.
Yeah, it also makes me think of like Varnashram, which is not an anga of bhakti, like Rupa Goswami clearly speaks about that in Nectar of Devotion. And yet, um, you know, it's not a limb of sadhana bhakti, but it's like a supporting platform.
Everything depends upon faith. When it comes to matters like this, that's where the starting point and it's the concluding point.
Krishnadas, no, wait. This is Krishnadas, Saiju's son. Vachasamrita and I offer our obeisances to you.
Okay.
No question. Next is from Shubhadra. Maharaj, it is said that the dakshina Krishna gave Sandipani Muni after learning from him was Sandipani Muni's lost son. Did Madhumangal have a brother?
Apparently.
Another question from Radha. Brahmanas that were chosen to bless Krishna were free of envy, greed, etc. It is written in Srimad Bhagavatam that their blessings do not go in vain. Would the same be true if they become influenced by other modes and become greedy? Will their blessings still work?
I think you've answered your own question, but the answer is it's weakened for sure. And it can be totally ineffective depending, it's commensurate or proportionate to their purity. But a true Brahman is pure and therefore powerful.
Another question from Shabhadra. Maharaj, I have heard that Sandipani Muni got his deceased son back as Krishna and Balaram's Dakshina. Did Purnamasi play a part in this, or did Madhumangal have a brother?
Same question.
Oh, it's repeated. Oh, okay, yeah. Radha, I have heard two versions of Mother Yashoda looking into Krishna's mouth. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it says it is after killing Trinavarta, 10:7, 35, 36. The other version is after eating dirt. Which one is true, or are both true?
Both are true.
Sri Devi Kosuri. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Mother Yashoda and gopis bathed Krishna for his protection by chanting mantras that are non-different from his names. Does this mean his name is more powerful than him?
Yes. That's what we're going to be discussing in the midday session. But good catch.
Ratnavali Mataji. Did all cowherd boys go to the Sandipani Muni school? Or if not, where did they go? The background of my question is, Krishna went to school when he left Vrindavan. So everyone is in that separation mood. So wanted to know if at least cowherd boys got his association at the school.
No. I mentioned that nothing is known about what happened after their Upanayana, but it would seem that if they had gone to Sandipani Muni school, it would be, shouted at the rooftops and with trumpets and kettle drums. They went to the same school with Krishna. Wow. So we don't have that understanding.
I've never done this typing a question.
Anything in the room while we're waiting for her typing?
I just wanted to say that this owl also has like symbolic meaning of it's like time to face shadows or some things others have seen but you didn't see, and the deception. So
It's
it seems like connected to
a
deception.
poetic metaphor of?
Yeah, like different animals, they have some spiritual meanings,
Spiritual or metaphorical?
metaphorical, I guess, yeah, but seems to be connected to deception and time to face that deception or shadows.
Ah. Okay.
Mohan Lila Prabhu. Maharaj, in regards to rituals in the scenario of parents, we may have faith in the process of bhakti, but when we are not sure about the faith of our dependents, what should be our stance about the samskaras? If skipped, is that soul at loss? Similarly, same question on samskaras for departed souls that may not be devotees.
Well, dependents and departed souls that may not be devotees are two very different topics. And I would recommend for dependents, they're not likely to even know about, what to speak of, have an affinity towards rituals that are not directly Krishna Bhakti rituals. So it doesn't seem to be a conflict or a problem or a question mark. In the children's education formula that our the founder Acharya of ISKCON gave us, he didn't give us any of these things. It was just chant Hare Krishna and worship the deity form and take prasadam. So it's very simple. And so I would recommend for the dependents, it's just keep it simple. And departed persons, it's according to Hari Bhakti Vilas, the decision of where to go is very much dependent upon the faith of the person. Now, in other words, if there's a deceased person and the individuals involved with the life of the deceased person are very comfortable with faith in the Vaishnavas to do the rituals that are going to be effective for their departed relative, although they may have different rituals, then to do the Vaishnava rituals, and if not, you do the according to the faith of the person. We want to nourish their faith. As far as possible, we like to move things in the Vaishnava direction or give an explanation so that it's very clear what's being done is for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord and the well-being of the soul. But in our Vaishnava rituals, there's all kinds of mantras that have to do with devas and things like that. So if you find a well-known priest that understands the transcendental position of those elements and rituals, then you're safe. So find a good pujari.
Okay, Ananda Vrindavan. This is in context of the karmic consequences that you mentioned for women who have been unchaste, etc.
Okay.
Does the law of karma account only for actions, or does it also take into account a person's consciousness?
Go ahead.
After a sinful act, a person might grow and reinstate their consciousness. Are they still culpable?
There's two-part question. In the first part, you're responsible not for your contemplations, but for your actions. However, contemplations commonly end up in actions. Wherever the mind is going, that's where our actions go commonly. Now, it can be that one can check on the thinking platform, but don't relax, don't become complacent with I don't have to worry about dirty thoughts. And then the answer to the second question is certainly one can become purified. Who is there that has made no mistakes or committed no sin in their life. I mean, there may be Sukadeva Goswami and special people like that, but otherwise, the eradication of prarabdha karma comes through the bhakti process and accepting shelter and so forth.
She just added, saying that, okay, this is especially in the context of Vaishnavas who are trying to practice Krishna consciousness, and they grow and strengthen their consciousness after such an unfortunate fall down.
Yes. They can become cleansed. There's no sin that can't be countered by bhakti.
Next is from Giridhar Votikota. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, is Narayanaya Raksha mantra same as our mantras chanted while applying our tilak?
Do you understand the question?
I think he means to say Narayan Kavach. Kavach.
You find the Narayan Kavacha in the Bhagavatam, 6th canto. And you get their mantras are there. And it's a Vaishnava principle. That's for protection. It's a kavacha or shield. So is it the same? Yeah, it's very similar to our tilak mantras, but it's the different parts of the body besides the 12 that we apply tilak. Same principle. Protection. By applying tilak, it's protection.
Amrita Keli. Guru Maharaj, I have a follow-up based on my sharing of the purifying nature and importance of the rituals based on faith. For myself, I feel I don't give much importance to the rituals and endeavor to perform, even the Vaishnava kind, telling myself that I don't have to perform all these. I feel there is an element of not wanting to make extra effort or endeavor that these rituals or sacrifices need. Would like to hear more on how to apply this in a balanced manner.
Let go of the guilt complex, please. I'm not good enough. Let go of that tendency. And, from me to you, I don't know all those rituals. And I don't feel like I'm compromised because I have faith in what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and our disciplic succession have taught us. Now, they have their place, and some people like those things, and fantastic. And that's supportive of achieving bhakti. It's not, there's nothing wrong with doing, there's nothing wrong with not doing. What's your propensity? If your propensity is to be lazy, then, that's not going to be helpful. But if it's based upon faith, if you actually have full faith in simply taking shelter of the holy name, then you don't need anything else. Or, the 5 principal activities of angas of bhakti, and you do that. So, give up this, I'm not good enough complex, please.
And last question from Ashish Prabhu Naperville. Hare Krishna Maharaj, we've been reading and hearing that most Rishi Munis have been Vaishnavas. However, we also hear of references like Sandipani Muni, few more who were Shaiva. Why would they be Shaiva if they knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality?
Well, Sandipani Muni was a Shaivite. He didn't know until he had Krishna's association, then he knew. So that's why Shaivites are Shaivites. They don't know. And those that know become Vaishnavas.
There's one more question.
And I think that's going to be it, even if more appear after this one.
Ruchira Mataji. As you mentioned yesterday, we're not privy to all the daily activities of Krishna. From that, I understand that we only have access to Krishna's key pastimes. If my understanding is right, what qualifies the Putana pastime as a key pastime?
The special mercy that Krishna gives to anybody who approaches him, even with slight devotion. This example that was given yesterday, with there's clouds in the heavy clouds in the sky, and suddenly the clouds part and some light comes through. See, even that slight receptivity of Krishna's mercy can go to even to bad people. So what to speak of good people? What to speak of those who are dedicated and devoted? And that's what we're going to. So, what's the verse? 3:2:17, something like that, where Uddhava says, "Who can have a better master than Krishna?" Because even the slight, Krishna gave her position as the nurse or maid servant in the spiritual world. So look at that verse, and that's why this Putana pastime is so special. We'll hear more about that. My plan is to discuss it at the very end of the whole Putana pastime, kind of like a wrap up. But so stay tuned. But you can read that verse. 3:2:22. 23. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay.